Morning and welcome to H3 TV, where we talk about how do we deal with disruption, which happens constantly, small to large, with hope, health, and happiness. I've been bringing this show to you every week for over a year, over 2 years now, I think. And I will be taking a 2 week break after today's session. I'm going to take a little vacation, but I just want to say thank you to our viewers, thank you to our subscribers. Please keep subscribing to my YouTube station. I really appreciate the support. If you have comments or questions throughout today's TV show, I hope that you'll just put them in the chat. And we promise we will answer everyone. If we don't do it live on the show, we will follow up afterwards in the comments. So I'm Annie Meehan, a professional speaker and award-winning author that recognizes that disruption might disturb us, it might distress us, but it does not have to define us. I started speaking about H3 TV when COVID hit, and I have continued as we've faced and overcome the hurricane, and I continue to write and speak to help and encourage other people with their disruptions. So today, will you please help me welcome Lisa to the stage? Hey, Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Annie. Great to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So tell us, who are you? Where do you live? What do you do? Tell us about you.
So I'm Lisa Storr, and I am from Central Pennsylvania. I've pretty much lived here most of my life, 90% of my life. And I work in communications in a nonprofit that provides early childhood education services. And I have always worked in the nonprofit setting. I love, I don't know, makes me feel good. And I'm a helper. I'm a helping soul inside. So anyway, I love my job. I love writing. So that's a huge part of my job. And the other reason is because I love spotlighting the children and the families that we serve. It's just fun to see their growth and, their stories, tell their stories. And then I also love highlighting and spotlighting the staff because teaching little learners is just so important in our world. And it's also can be super stressful and really, really hard. So teachers need a shout out every day, all day, pretty much, in my opinion. I couldn't do their job.
Yeah. But you're doing it in your own way, right? You're contributing to early childhood. I'm contributing to adult learning. Mm-hmm. I think if we so choose, we're all educators in one way or another, not necessarily in the classroom with little kids all day, but yes, we are. So Lisa, when I put on the show, I love to hear what is a disruption you've gone through in your life. And well, first, before we even get to that, when you think of the word disruption, what comes to mind for you?
Well, actually, when you were asking about having me on to talk about disruptions, I was sort of going over, the different disruptions in my life, big and small. And I think disruptions, like you said, can be anything. They can be something major, but they can also be little things that happen daily to our routine, whether it's getting sick or, having your car break down. These things can be really huge disruptors to our well-being, to our productivity, our workflow. All that stuff can just get out of, joint when any of these disruptions happens. And some of us, I think, have it even more difficult when these, because if my car broke down, I can get a ride to work, but somebody else may not be able to get a ride to work. So that makes it even harder for them. Yeah. I think, it can just, it affects different people.
Derail you from your routine, from your path, from your hope.
Everything.
So when you think of disruption in your life, a disruption that you have reflected on going through still today, what is a disruption that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I decided I wanted to sort of share about a journey that I have taken, and the disruption really occurred throughout my life because for many, many years I have dealt with depression and anxiety, and it was more of a low grade depression for me that was always sort of there. And then there were times when it would be like a major disruption where I would have like a major depression episode. Or there were times when I would explode because of holding all of that in and trying to pretend that things were okay when they really weren't inside of me. So, that was certainly disruptive to my life, to my kids' lives. And yeah, it was just when I think back to those, episodes that were more, more major, I guess it's hard to think about. Um, and, they can really throw you for a loop. Like we said, I mean, I was, like
So,
I said, trying to hold it in, and trying to pretend that everything was okay. And I had been on medication and in therapy for many, many, many years. I would
okay.
say like maybe 12 years I was in
So what are
therapy.
some of the tools that you have used when you go through, as you call it, an episode or have a season of depression or a moment of depression? How do you stay hopeful? And you also mentioned your family. And so, how do you stay hopeful and maybe even encourage them to stay hopeful when you're feeling down and depressed? So, what are some of the tools you've used, or strategies, or systems, or routines to get back on track, or to stay hopeful through those difficult disruptions of depression?
Well, I'm going to just explain how I really overcame it, because I did overcome it. I don't really have those episodes anymore. And if I do, they're extremely short.
Okay.
Um, so I actually decided to stop therapy in early to mid 40s. I was like, this really isn't working for me. I don't really see a huge change for me personally. I'm going to try something else on my own. And I decided I was going to look into mindfulness, meditation, that kind of thing. It was just something that I'd heard of that had been beneficial for other people. And I didn't really have any kind of plan at that time on what to do, but I sort of stumbled across this course called Mindfulness for Peak Performance and Well-Being.
Okay.
And it just, I was like, oh, mindfulness, let me just take this course. And I absolutely loved it. I just thought this information makes so much sense to me. It was so relatable. I learned that I had control over my thoughts, and these thoughts were creating a lot of my anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And we can train our brains like to change all the time. They're very it's called neuroplasticity. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I learned that, and I was like, "Oh, why didn't anyone tell me this before?" It was just kind of one of those things. And I was sharing with everyone. I'm like, did you see this? And and I just found that I could work with my brain to be happier. And that's really what I was looking for, because like I said, I had that sort of low grade depression throughout my life. And I just wanted to find that something that could help me be happier.
So you took a course on mindfulness. You kind of
Yeah.
decided, hey, I've tried this therapy for a long time. It hasn't gotten me the results I wanted.
Mhm.
Nothing wrong with therapy for our listeners. If
No.
that works for you, that's great.
Right.
It didn't really, it works for a season, and then sometimes it's time to try something new. So you took a course on mindfulness, and mindfulness helped you shift your own mind, your neuroplasticity, and really your adaptability of your brain is what that is. And it helped you think about how to be hopeful in the
Mhm.
midst of an awareness that depression's real, but there's lots of different tools out there. So I love that. I love that you opened your mind to trying a new course and trying a new option. You had tried that for a long time. So you tried learning about mindfulness. And in that, what are some of the takeaways for your health? How did that affect your health and bring you to a place of recovery from depression or overcoming
Mhm.
depression, or however you define that? What were some of the keys of how to stay healthy on a daily basis, how to keep your mind healthy
Mhm.
on a daily basis?
So I began doing meditation on a almost daily basis. I started very small. I'm not a 1 hour at a time a meditator at all by any means, but that's really where I started, just going in within. And people often think that they can't meditate because they, can't calm their mind or quiet their mind or whatever, but that's really not the point of meditation. It's really just to create an awareness of sort of what's going on within you, what's where your thoughts are
Right.
going, and when they're kind of going all over the place, because that's what our brains do. They just think things all the time. So it just helps you develop that awareness. And that's where I think I my happiness and health have really been transformed by that awareness. The awareness that I'm just noticing, when I might be becoming reactive, or when I might be, shutting down, or if there's something going on with my body even that doesn't feel good, and maybe I'm holding a lot of tension, and it's all about awareness. You just build that sort of awareness muscle. And
Okay.
that's what I was doing. And it just, yeah, I mean, it instead of living on autopilot and just going through my day, I was aware of when my thoughts were going to negative places, or spiraling. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, one of the biggest things that I learned and practice.
So it's awareness and it's discipline.
Mm.
I heard someone speaking this morning and she said, discipline is the greatest form of self-love. And I've always been kind of like, I like to be a rule breaker. And I was like, what does that mean? But she kind of went on to explain that she wasn't very disciplined with herself. And when she started she got healthier. And so when you're talking, Lisa, I'm thinking about what is in your medicine cabinet. I always think about my medicine cabinet has a lot of different things in it. It has movement. Movement is a non-negotiable. I have to move my body every day. My medicine cabinet has music. I love uplifting, positive music. I love laughter. There's a lot of things that I have learned as tools, and it sounds like meditation is one of yours, that our medicine cabinet doesn't always have to be filled with pills. For some people, that is the right choice. But for some people, we find that along the way, staying hydrated can make a huge difference, having the right fluids in your body. So if you had to pick your top 3 things that are in your medicine cabinet today, from all you've learned over the years, what are those 3 keys that have helped you overcome, minimize episodes of depression in your life, or having depression be an underlying part of every day?
Yeah. And I agree with the discipline part. I use the word consistency, just it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
But just showing up every day, showing up for yourself. Um, and that's kind of where that self-care, I think, gets confused because anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But it's
Oh,
the medicine cabinet. It's kind of like,
yeah,
yeah,
what's in your medicine cabinet?
right. So yeah, definitely meditation is in my medicine cabinet. 100% believe in that. There's research to prove that it helps with everything, including depression and anxiety. And then it's mindfulness practices. So mindfulness is defined as paying attention on purpose to the present moment without judgment.
Mhm.
So
Let's say it again. Paying attention
paying
on
attention
purpose
on purpose in the present moment
in the present moment
without any judgment.
without any judgment. I love that. I'm definitely going to want you to write that in the comments, Lisa. I think that's a really, and it's a good mantra. Like, what does that mean to be present? What does that mean to be mindful? And I think people use it and throw it around. The majority of people have no idea what does that mean? So having that nice, tight definition is beautiful. So meditation, mindfulness, you explain that. And what else? What's one other one? Is it another M? What do you got in there?
No, it's not. It's probably yoga because I'm not an everyday person, but I've gotten to like 3 or 4 days a week where I'll get up and do yoga.
Okay.
And again, it's more of a short practice, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, but
Okay.
that's another way to just have awareness about what your body's telling you. Maybe if you're holding some sort of tension, because I used to do that a lot. That was something, again, where I was just sort of holding it all in. Your body can just hold on to stuff and you get these sore spots and you don't even realize it. But
Yes.
yoga has helped me with that, and just with being it's a good thing for all kinds of reasons.
Yes, I'm a big believer in massage and what it releases from your body,
Mm.
and that it's not just physical. but your medicine cabinet is my meds. And do you know why it's my meds? Because it's MYM. It's meditation, it's yoga, and it's mindfulness. And I think about when we think my meds, make it as easy as possible for people to remember. Laughter, movement. What are your things that keep you healthy? Because we know that taking care of our body takes taking care of our mind. It helps us all be more whole. So Lisa, through the seasons of your life and the disruptions and where you are today, how did you find happiness? How did you find joy and happiness in your life as you navigated disruptions?
What I found happiness in was, it's cliche, but it's the little things.
Mhm.
It's all the little things. It's, whether I just like this comfortable chair that I'm sitting in, and recognizing that and sort of savoring how I feel really cozy in this blanket, or, if I'm just enjoying the moment with my dog and playing or petting him or whatever. It's those little things, a short chat with my, kid on Snapchat even, I mean, it's just savoring those things is how you can retrain your brain to be more focused on the good. And that's where it's at for me. It's those little things, and gratitude, of course, self-compassion, but um, little things are, I mean, that's what our life is made up of. The big things only happen every so often, getting married, having a baby, having a graduation, or whatever. Those things, those big things come and go, but it's the little daily things.
I like the word savoring, because savoring is a very slowing word, right? It's like it stretches out, even just saying it, savoring. I like how you described a chair. I think that when we're in that hyper mode of anxiety or depression, I think it's easy to forget that a warm cup of coffee is more than a beverage. It's a good morning, it's a welcome, or warm cup of tea. I think the comfort and being present and feeling the chair around us is such a gift. So, Lisa, as you think back on disruptions in your life, what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way? What's a lesson or two that you've learned from what you've overcome and what you've gone through?
I think it's to recognize that you can overcome things. If you look back, and sometimes the journaling has helped me with this, because not everything, but things can seem really big and hard to overcome. And I used to think that all the time. I think depression and anxiety lie to you, and they tell your brain that everything is too much and it's overwhelming.
Mhm.
And it keeps you stuck. And if you remember that you have gone through a lot of different things in your life, and you have come out the other side, it's just knowing that, and it sort of gives you that empowered feeling. I think knowing that you have control over your feelings, because if you continue to think that things are difficult, or things kind of suck all the time, then that's what's going to keep happening in your life. But if you recognize and become aware of those thoughts, like I mentioned, how awareness is so important, having an awareness of just being more positive, and not to say that, everything's shiny and great all the time, but trying to see the good. And
I really
yeah.
think that's knowing the truth, because depression and anxiety lie to you, and they get louder and louder and louder till they consume you, and you forget that you love your chair and your family and your coffee and your whatever it is. And I think that people that have anxiety and depression, it's so noisy that it distracts them from everything good. And so I always say, before we address things as a coach, we always assess things, right? So it's like being on a beach and a beautiful sunset, and the waves are crashing and the dolphins are leaping in the air, and you stub your toe, and all you think about is a stub toe. Well, the same thing can be true with depression and anxiety. So we have to be careful to not let one area of our life define every area of our life. And so, is there anything that you know now, in your wisdom, in your midlife pursuits? Is there anything you know now that you wish you knew then? That, like, if there's somebody listening right now and they're saying, "Hey, Lisa, you don't know. Depression, anxiety is running my life. I don't have any joy. Everything's bad." What can you speak to them? I want you to think about that audience member right now that's really listening and saying, "Hey, I am struggling with this. Where do I start? What do you wish you knew? What can you tell your younger self, or to our listeners, whatever their age, of wisdom?"
There's so much.
Let's just give them maybe the top two. How about that? They can reach out to you to learn more, Lisa, always. So this is,
Certainly.
we're just getting a touch on it, and then they can
Mhm.
always reach out if they want to learn.
Yeah.
So,
Let's see. I think for me, it's again the consistency, but it's those baby steps. So it, you don't have to do something ginormous today, you know? You don't have to do it all tomorrow. It doesn't have to be done by next week.
yeah.
If you can just take tiny little steps, whether it's the 5 minute meditation or even 2 minutes, start with 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then maybe, gradually add building up. But it doesn't have to be done today. It doesn't have to be hard. It can be easy. And those little changes actually do make a difference. And don't give up on yourself. Like I think I was a person that wanted quick fixes, and if I couldn't, then it didn't work.
Mhm.
But again, I also thought that everything was going to be hard or had to be hard, and it doesn't have to be hard. And you having knowing these things can just be so empowering. Knowing the fact that you can control, really where your thoughts are going, and you don't have to listen to all those yucky thoughts that are coming in, because we have them all the time, but they're just, like you said, noise. So we can choose maybe some other thoughts.
Choose, make good
Yeah.
choices. Yes, I love that. So I really, what I'm gonna shrink yours down is just slow and steady wins the race. Take a baby step, take one
Mm,
step, be gentle with yourself, right? Slow
for
and
sure.
steady wins the race. So she's saying take one baby step and grace. We always say, one of my girlfriends and I, we say, grace for you, grace for me. Like give yourself some patience. Wait a minute, I tried that
Mm,
once, it didn't work. Oh, yes, and that's okay. I'll try it again tomorrow. And when you don't feel like trying it, take a day off and then
yeah,
start again. And so I like
totally.
that. Slow and steady, you're going to get there. So, Lisa, what I want to know, because it sounds like you have years of wisdom and lots of knowledge you want to share with our listeners, but what are you doing in your life right now to support people that are at where you were, right? What are you doing to give back? What are you doing to support other people on their journey?
I I have started about 4 years ago I started the blog called Midlife Pursuits, and that has turned into a business for me, sort of a side business. And because I believe that you can overcome anxiety and depression by becoming aware of your thoughts and the things that hold you back. So I help women in midlife mostly to do this and to feel empowered so that they can make intentional choices and lead a life that they actually really love living. So, yeah, that I do this through various programs and materials, and a lot of them are free. And then I offer individual coaching packages too.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Um, I also consider myself a person in recovery. I do work with lots of organizations, but I sometimes work with treatment centers. And I always say, I'm in recovery from depression. The first 20 years I was depressed. I cried myself to sleep every night, and I didn't know life could be different than that. So I love hearing stories. I know there's a time and a place for therapy and for medication. But for
Yes.
me, I had to fill my medicine cabinet with that movement and music and just intentional what I listen to, what I watch. I protect my
Mm.
brain. And if people make fun of me for doing it, that's okay. This part of me helps every other part of me. So I love that you are on this recovery and healing journey. I love that you are helping other people in the process. I think it's so important. There's such a great need for support around people being coached to what is actually possible, not where have I been, not where am I, but how could my life look. So I love
Yeah.
that. What would you give the biggest credit to for learning? I like to say it's soaring. So the choice is, will we survive our storms? Will we swim through them? Will we get stuck in them? Or will we really soar above them? And so I always feel like when we take what we've been through and serve others, that's part of the soaring. But is there a way that you think of, like, when I see myself soaring today compared to where I was many years ago, what does that look like, or how did that happen, or can you define that?
I think I have to go back to the gratitude and being in the moment and appreciating those little things and savoring all of the good stuff.
Wow.
I it's the savoring. It just really it's again proven to change your brain. And the more you look at all of the good things in your life, whether it's this favorite pen that you have or, your coffee, it's the more that you savor that, your brain is all that good stuff is just going to stick. And I don't know, like, I just can't believe, I think the transformation, I wouldn't have even, I would have said, yeah, this pen's great, but I don't know. It's those little things that if you can savor it, you're just going to see such a transformation. That's what happened to me. And that mindfulness, being aware of what's around me and all the good stuff has just really helped.
I love it. I think I've stuck to soaring, and I think it's like a mindset shift of perspective, because when depression is winning in our mind and in our lives, we only see what isn't working, and we only feel frustrated and disappointed. Again, I screwed up. Again, somebody disappointed me, my expectations, all this. But when we choose to shift our mindset, we go, I'm going to look for something good today. And it was kind of a hard day, but I'm still going to look for something good. And we start to live in that gratitude and that generosity and that joyful spirit. So I love that. What is one last story, message, thought that you have for our listeners that you want to kind of leave them with about their journey, about your journey, about hope?
I didn't know that I wanted to really focus on anxiety and depression in my business or on my website, but I'm like, it's just so important to talk about, and for other people to know that they're not alone. And I think when I learned, even in my mindfulness course, that I was normal, I wasn't some crazy, wacky mother that's, freaking out and, having these episodes. That just sort of makes you feel better. It makes you feel when you just don't feel alone. I think including people, having that sense of inclusion is always important and good. And yeah, I think, like you said, surrounding yourself with the people that relate to you, people that are sharing, positive stories and hopeful messages, it can really bring you up. It did for me. That's what I do too. I'm like podcasts, my YouTubes that I watch. It's all, the TikToks that I watch. It's all people that are lifting you up and helping you just to stay in this higher vibration. And yeah.
I think the biggest lie of depression is you're the only one. Nobody else feels like you. Nobody else thinks like you. There's something wrong with you. Yeah. And that keeps us isolated and closed down. So that's the biggest lie of depression, because the truth is many people struggle with depression. Many people have large episodes, small episodes, encounters, circumstantial, chemical depression. So when we feel like I'm the only one, it makes us feel bad. And that's why that reminder of it's okay to not be okay. And it's also okay to do the work when we're not okay to get back to okay. So Lisa, I know people are going to love to connect with you, learn more about you and what you do, and more of your stories and lessons. What is the best way to connect with you? Where can they reach out?
I would say the best way would be through my website at midlifepursuits.com. And I'm also on TikTok, Instagram, and I have a Facebook group.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for being with us today. I hope this brought encouragement as we bring H3 TV on how to stay hopeful, healthy, and happy during life's storms and disruptions, whether it's traffic or it's a crisis. We are here to support you and encourage you on your journey so that you can live a full and fulfilled life. Take care, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.